Okay, folks, welcome. This is Michael with the Reason RX podcast and my co-host,
Melanie.
right? Writers of zero books, leaders of zero thoughts. so today we are joined by John McPherson, local for me, not for Melanie, local owner of a CrossFit Box in Houston here, and he's, well, I'll just let him tell us about himself. John, what would you say to folks? Tell us about yourself, if you would, please.
Well, thank you for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to do this with you guys. I was excited to get to talk to you again, Michael. It's always fun. I know last time we got pretty heated into each other, and I was like, this will make for a great stuff. I was just chomping at the bit, but this is all stuff that we both believe in, so I think it'll be fun today. I own P3 CrossFit here in Houston, Texas. We were the second CrossFit gym to open in Houston, and going on our 12th year now, and it's been a lot of fun and more or less a profession I never really saw myself going into, but one that I don't see myself leaving now either. So it's a really interesting world. Mm-hmm. Before all that, I was actually in the military. I served in the Army, and that's ultimately where I found CrossFit when I was in training in a place with hopes and dreams to become a Special Forces soldier and become a Green Beret. I was introduced to a lovely little workout by the name of Nasty Girls that made me crawl into a corner and want to sit in my way. But so I've been doing CrossFit myself for probably almost 15, 16 years, been around a long time. But prior to that, I was aspiring athlete in college and high school, and always just found myself being active. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the long and short of all before we go into nitty-gritty details about me playing t-ball. But otherwise, fitness is my life now.
Cool. Yeah. It's a good life. And then one thing people need, know a lot more nowadays than they used to, need to get down more, is how really intellectual a lot of this is. Like, you watch Rocky and, well, he's just some stupid boxer just doing stuff. But if you really stop and think, no, there's a lot of thought behind the stuff he's doing in his training. And nowadays, with exercise science, and CrossFit's informed by a lot of that, there's, heck, you can, like, totally geek out on some of this stuff and get into even, like, the quantum mechanics and stuff. There's so much to it. It's not just some, like, muscle-bound, stupid person thing,
Absolutely.
Like, to run a gym, your business, your marketing, management, working with people, knowing the biomechanics and everything, complicated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a whole mess of things and topics that you never thought you'd get into, but you have to. There's no way around it.
Yeah. But how long has CrossFit been around?
I believe Glassman claimed it was like 79 or something like that when he first started playing with it in his own garage. Okay. When he was a young gymnast. And that's Greg Glassman, the founder of CrossFit. But really hit that. I believe the main site was launched in 2001, late 2001. That's the first time. It was just a basic blog with a daily workout posted, and grew from there. They first started doing seminars in 2004, so it was about the time when I first, dropped or was, founded on the internet.
Cool, yeah. And so to let some folks know, in case they're unsure, or to maybe like straighten out some errors, misconceptions, I read something that I don't know if it's still on their website, but it used to be CrossFit. What is CrossFit? CrossFit is the principal strength and conditioning program for many police academies and tactical operations teams, military special operations units, champion martial artists, and hundreds of other elite and professional athletes worldwide. Our program delivers a fitness that is, by design, broad, general, and inclusive. Our specialty is not specializing. Combat, survival, many sports, and life reward this kind of fitness and, on average, punish the specialist. CrossFit contends that a person is as fit as they are proficient in each of 10 general physical skills: cardiovascular/respiratory endurance, stamina, strength, flexibility, power, speed, agility, balance, coordination, and accuracy. End of quote. What do you think of that, John?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's one of those things where I think everybody should be doing some variation of this, whether or not you want to call it CrossFit or not. But you can't tell me there's not one human being that doesn't need some aspect of all of those just to live and survive.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Those 10 things, right. And then it's important. So some people aren't saying necessarily don't specialize in a sport, but make sure you got that broad background. You agree with that pretty much, John?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The specialization is just for what end?
Yeah. And like you say, like last time or two we talked in person, you asked me rhetorically, what's the best exercise for someone to do? What'd you say?
Oh, I just said the one you're willing to do.
Right.
I mean,
It's just something.
move, and that's the greater battle that CrossFit's been pushing for the past several years and really get into. It's we're not fighting against Zumba, we're not fighting against Barry's Boot Camp or Orange Theory, any of those programs. You're fighting against the couch, and you're fighting against the processed refined sugars and all the other crap that's in our world. That's what we're up against, and being stuck on video games for 20 hours a day with our kids during the summer. That's what we're fighting.
Yeah.
So
then unfortunately some people make it hard because there's always people that do this system or this that want to attack the others and say ours is the only one. And we got to realize, a lot of people are fighting the same battle. We're after the same thing. We can work together. We can do several of these different things.
Absolutely.
So we need to realize we've got to come together more on some of this stuff, and we got to fight each other.
Yeah. It's you want to call it peacocking. It's just you want to. It's the I'm better than you because of this or XYZ. Fine, whatever, great. I hope you make everybody happy. Right. We just look for people you want to help and want to change status quo and want to live unburdened and by their own health for their life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who do you see come to you quite a bit, John? Is it because it seems like now the 40-hour work week is a good chunk of that is sitting, and I mean that's kind of where it's gone, which it had to. I mean with desks and computers and stuff. But who do you see coming to you mostly? Is it those the people that are dealing with that because they have to, or is it people that have just decided that's it? I'm ready to start getting in shape, no matter what they're.
There's so many moments or reasons why people will finally call us or actually walk into the gym, and it's rarely because somebody told them, "Hey, you need to try this stuff. It's awesome." It's rarely because of that.
Yeah,
it comes from either a frustration or unhappiness with where they're at, and it may be that ugly moment when you're sitting with a doctor and you need to do something. You need to lose 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 100 pounds, but whatever the case may be. But as for the type of person, you can look at demographic, you can look at where they're at in life. There's so many different points that I could touch on there, but it's usually somebody who is upset and angry and wants to fix it, wants to change it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love getting that phone call because I know I can help. I feel sorry for them. I can empathize, but at the same time, it's exactly who I want to talk to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's great.
Yeah.
But so I guess in that respect, I'm kind of an outlier. I didn't, fortunately, have like some major problem where I wanted to get involved in some of this fitness stuff. It was just wanted to do better. And, I find out something I didn't know before, and hey, that like is logical and makes sense. Like I'm there, And
that's the great thing. I've talked to numerous people at the same outset. You don't have to spend much time or convincing them or hand holding, so to speak. It's like, hey, look over there, and then the blinders are on, and then it's just, oh God, you can just run with it.
Mm-hmm.
So teach their own in that end, but it's just I think males in general, and give you a hard time with Mike. We don't want to be coached. We know what to do. Yeah. Oh, we're in the gym. I know how to lift weights, and so but it's usually my guys that I can help the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know I've benefited a lot. Like, just for time, I'd like to go into some places and learn technique and stuff, but just for time I didn't. And then I got certified in like a philosophically similar thing to CrossFit, moving at, there's a lot of things nowadays like that are different but have a lot of philosophical similarities. Moving at, parkour, primal play, CrossFit, Katie Bowman's nutritious movement, and some of them are, naturally made to serve some slightly different needs, so they have to be different.
Yeah.
It doesn't make like one metaphysically better than the other. It just makes maybe one better for a certain person at a certain time than another. But, we should move back and forth between them, learn from the different ones, utilize one at one point, then another at another point, things like that. Because there's, a lot of dietary, lifestyle, exercise modality, and philosophy similarities.
Yeah.
Like very different than just, very similar than just like sitting on a couch. But, so I know when I got certified in MoveNat, which I say is like philosophically similar to CrossFit, I learned a lot. I was glad I could like finally do that. Got level 1, then level 2, and made, it's great to learn the techniques. It makes a big difference in your movement. Learning how to break down skills, the logical progressions, what's really going on. Ignorance is kind of like a jail in chains. When you learn, then it helps free you up. Then you're able to move in the world. You understand the world, so you're more free in it.
Absolutely.
But so I think, and then if you go to some places like I think John's CrossFit gym is really got things set up right. Like I know my friend Andy's told me sometimes he's gone in there and he's been tired, and the trainers know, and they go, "No, you're not doing the workout today. You're not ready for it." It's not like, since they know about biology and biomechanics and physiology and all this, it's not good for him. It's not appropriate in the long run. So, okay, Andy, you go over here. You're going to do some like stretches and mobility work and this, and we're going to do the workout. Thank you. And, he's smart enough to do it. He doesn't whine, but, that's one thing I like about John's gym a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The flexibility and need to adapt for the sheer number of people that we have come in every day for all those different reasons, whether it just be because they have a 2 and 4 year old at home and haven't slept in 4 days, or it's the one that came in the other day that midway through the warm up, I was like, there's something going on here, and he's like, oh yeah, I had to fast the entire day. I had to get blood drawn.
Wow.
And then I'm like, did you eat again? just you're just like, okay, well then let's go talk for a few minutes. Let's to think that it's a CrossFit should be a one size, or any program out there should be a one size fits all, and just here, have your dose, move away, or go along the way. It's just it's ignorant, in my opinion, that you think that way. Mm-hmm. And that dosage has to be regulated or managed. Very much like a doctor who gives medicine out. That's why it's called the RX. It's because that's a dosage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's just a cultural thing in general, unfortunately.
Yeah. Go hard or go home.
Yeah. Right.
So when someone first comes in, then John, to your what gym, I guess you call it, your gym, yeah. Do you kind of take them aside and sort of do a whole assessment and just see, are there places in CrossFit that someone can just jump in, or is it always we got to start at the beginning, we're going to go all the way through? How do you guys assess, and where do you place people?
That it's interesting because how it's just evolved across, both from a business perspective, but also from just the logic that we talked about not abusing somebody who's not prepared for it. The way I was brought into CrossFit was literally like, hey, go do this workout. Just throw yourself at it, and just smash your head against the wall over and over again, and it'll get better someday. And what we do now, we're bringing all new athletes in, besides just having a face-to-face and meet and greet, and just a general assessment of where are you in your world. Let me just hear about what's going on in your life, and then some the standard basic health screening of the PAR-Q, you have chest pain, you get dizzy, all those basic just safety, insurance needs. And then it's, one-on-one training before you ever get into the classes. We need to see how your body reacts. Let's see how psychologically you handle these stressors long before we really increase, throw load or intensity or those other big scary words that everybody thinks CrossFit is, which is throwing around a bunch of weight really fast and unsafely. Let's just, you and I meet. Let's move and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That misconception is unfortunate.
Yeah, we fight it every day.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Just like I deal with stuff like every day, pretty much like that too, because I'm the crazy guy who goes barefoot.
Yeah.
It's not because I'm being scientific and I know what I'm talking about and I've researched it a lot. No, you're just crazy because you're different. But yeah, it's unfortunate. But and then so you have people in it first, so you can make sure they know good technique. You can't just trust someone necessarily to come in and they don't necessarily have good technique, right?
Well, it's almost when you have somebody that has some exposure to CrossFit or just lifting and training, whether they be a former athlete or current athlete, you obviously know they have some capacity. Mm-hmm. But the way we help them understand is that I don't know what that capacity is. Mm-hmm. So to put you in a group setting where you have a competitive vibe with unknown parameters and movements, there's just inherently unsafe for you.
Yeah.
And so it's just beneficial to you in the long run, and us to be able to help you create a plan to spend some time together. Mm-hmm. And then cut the leash and let you go nuts. And but at the early stage, there's no value. And then I'm playing the long game. This isn't 6 months and you're gone. This is a 10-year, 20-year, 30-year, 40-year relationship we're trying to forge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is through life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's significant. I know, a gymnastics coach I've heard on a number of podcasts, like Rob Wolf's podcast, Coach Summer, has coached Olympic athletes. That's one thing he does. And he said some people leave him sometimes because they're not progressing fast enough. And then they get hurt, and they come back to him, and they go, "Oh, I get it now. Can you take me back, please?"
Yeah, it happens. That happens everywhere, and that's just that's that mentality too of some people won't make a change until it's that point.
Yeah,
somebody won't lose 50 pounds until they have a heart attack.
Yeah, or stop smoking, or
all this, just denial, or whatever you want to call it, but they need that punch to the face to. Mm-hmm. to change.
Yeah. And as long as it'd be better if they stayed kind of smart in the first place, but at least they're learning. Some people, they stay in denial no matter what.
I like that it's staying kind of smart. You're not there.
Excuse me. So basically, like, technique and progressions are very important at your gym.
Absolutely. The progression, your psychological tolerance, your understanding and concept of when to go hard, when to back off. Mm-hmm. You really just getting in tune with how your body is moving, feeling, and to know what's right in that moment. Like, I can go harder. I need to back off. I'm about to pass out.
Yeah. Yeah. So Go ahead, Melanie.
I was going to say, you guys probably involve diet with that, just so you get the most benefit, or is that something they're kind of in charge of? They've got to figure out on their own.
Day zero. It's tell me what you had for breakfast. Tell me what you had for lunch. What did you eat for dinner last night? What are you eating tonight? What is your plan? Who buys the groceries? Who cooks? And all of it is information gathering. I rarely just throw and vomit nutritional information or thought process at people initially. I just want to hear what they're doing.
Yeah.
And see where's their small room and space that we can start making changes or assist with. Because, I just kind of like Mike was talking about how he just found the fitness aspect and really just ran with it. I might be able to direct somebody to a couple of recipes and people just suddenly just dive in. It's just, wow, this is amazing, and it's easy, and I never thought planning or preparing meals for a week would make my life simpler with 5 kids. And
yeah, or whoa, I can cook. I didn't know that.
I don't have to go out to lunch every day for work. No, nutrition is hand in hand from the very beginning. There's no way around it. From the business side, I tell them openly, you're wasting your time and your money if you don't address nutrition.
Yeah.
Right.
That's important. Go ahead.
Easier for people to change their diet or to embrace a more rigorous exercise plan, or both? Do you see people come in and they really do take both on pretty seriously, or?
Nutrition's always the chasing from behind.
Oh.
We're in a type A world of let's do more of this. Let's do more. I'm going to go run more. I'm going to go work out more. I'm going to do more of this. I'm not going to bother to fix the fact that I drank a 6-pack last night and had a cupcake. I'm going to just do more exercise because that's how it works, or at least in their heads. And then they finally get to a point of, again, frustration that I've been training hard and doing great for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, a year. I haven't lost any weight. And I come back to the same question we always do is, well, let me see your food log. Mm-hmm. Let's see what you've been shoveling into your mouth. There's obviously what's going in isn't working.
Or I've been going hard for 6 months or a year, so I can go hog wild with ice cream and heroin now.
Exactly. No. Well, yeah.
No.
Yeah, it happens, but yeah, it's not that we don't push nutrition hard on people, but I can only control what happens in the gym. Mm-hmm. I'm not in people's homes. I'm not going shopping with them. But we go to some great ends and lengths to hold them accountable to that end. But it's a battle that if you're a married family or a young couple or things like that, if your significant other isn't on board with you, you're not supportive of this, if you're not in charge of making meals or not, there's gives and takes and balances that the whole group needs to be involved with. Mm-hmm. A person or family, however you want to call it.
Yeah, we can help each other out, and we should, and it's good. Excuse me. It's part of being human, but then pretty much everything, a lot of times, ultimately, it just falls down on the individual, whether they're going to do it or not.
Yep. So we ask that typically point blank when we really push to get why people are starting fitness or why they're going after this and why they're taking this big leap and change, whatever it may be, whether it be an aesthetic change of, I want to look better in my bathing suit, or it is a health issue of I want to lower my blood pressure. Mm-hmm. We want to understand why that's important. That way we can actually bring that back to them. Like, if you really want this, you have to do these things. Like, this is how it works. And that like you said, what they're willing to do, that person wants to. You have to tap into that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of research I've read that's been done in the military in that regard. I think even for like special forces stuff, in general, when someone has an internal drive, internal motivation, they're more likely to succeed. Whereas if they have some external drive or motivation, then they're less likely to succeed.
Yeah, if you're just doing it to look pretty in that green beret, you ain't gonna make it.
Yeah.
And I knew a lot of guys like that. It was to prove to the world that they had a big chest and they're a man or whatever you want to call it, and you just ran right by them.
Yeah,
they didn't want it, or they walked away after the second or third day.
Yeah,
absolutely, True. It's an internal drive.
Maybe can you define that a little, John? Like, give a little more about what it is that makes someone successful versus sort of a superficial, like a quick fix kind of attitude or something.
Like at CrossFit or in general?
Yeah, just in general, what you see psychologically and maybe mentally, just emotionally even, what makes someone stick with it and they do well. How do you?
Well, that's consistent habits. I've always been the little steps, repetitive of plan and prepare and keep the little things going. The bigger picture will come, but it's like, if you're starting with somebody who's really in a dark place, whether it be health-wise or fitness-wise, the baby steps have to be there. The goals have to be extremely obtainable. You have to eat breakfast every day this week. I don't care what it is. You just need to eat a breakfast because you've been eating coffee and a candy bar every morning.
Ooh.
But that's wow. I'm giving you such a broad spectrum there. But it has to be so attainable you can be successful and feel good and have some of that dopamine that comes in you for feeling good about a positive action that you've done, so that you can actually look at the next step and go, I can do that.
Yeah.
If you don't have any success anywhere, the cold turkey, all right, I'm just going to completely switch my diet from eating fast food twice a day to I'm going to eat clean and all natural and no antibiotic free, and it's not going to happen, and it won't stay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think. Go ahead.
No, I'm just rambling there. Just rambling.
I think one thing that makes it hard to pin down some of that is probably because some of that, when you come into a certain situation where you got to have the internal drive, it's got to have been developed like 10 or 20 or 30 years ago. It doesn't just happen right then. You got to be someone who already operates that way, at least to some extent. Otherwise, if you're not, then you just got to take the time, the 3 to 5 or 10 years it's going to take to kind of restructure your mind and the way you value so that you become more internal driven than external.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, hell, that's like hard enough work as it is. And then we have limited mental energy, like trying to take care of your kids and take care of your family and work and exercise and do this new stuff and change your diet and then change the way you function mentally too. It's like, whoa, one thing at a time.
Yeah, I actually tell a story about some of this similar subject to my staff, and it was, we had a female, an older female join the gym. She was approaching 60, and she was 100% and I'm in grandma mode. And what I mean by this was she called everybody darling. Everybody was honey and baby. And she just had resigned herself to the fact that she was a grandma and could not do anything essentially that we'd ask her, and we'd always modify. And we do it for everybody, but then I introduced her to one of our females at the gym who was 78, and she didn't know it. And I let them work out together the whole class day together, and they were talking back and forth. And then I told her at the end of class, I was like, she's got you by almost 20 years, and she did more than you today, and really kind of just gave her a sight, and she just was in disbelief. And it was just shocking to her that anybody could do this at her age, let alone 20 years older than her. And it just, the psychological, she just didn't believe she could do it.
Yeah.
And it was just a daily fight and frustration for her because she'd never thought that she could, because she had already resigned herself to that state of life, like that it was over. And that internal drive in her was just palatable. It was all just, my kids are telling me to do this because they want me healthy. And it always brought up great discussions and back and forth with how to deal with people in the gym and interesting situations. Yeah. And so I always use that story with my staff, and it's a fun one to talk about because we still have a semi-relationship with both of these females that still see us or train with us in some way, but it's they're the great study habits or our study subjects. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Has she come around more yet?
Nope.
Huh.
She's goes on these spurts or ups and downs, but they're all related to little health scares, a trip and fall, or I couldn't walk up the stadium seats at the baseball game, and things like that. They're like, I don't want to age.
Mm-hmm.
But the older female, yeah, she's rock solid. She works out on her own every day. She doesn't need us.
Yeah.
She came to play for a few years and loved it, and then found her niche and what works well for her, and she just keeps doing it.
Cool. She's got the community there still. The community's
important.
Yeah. Good.
Absolutely. She still goes to the ladies' happy hours and comes out and is great.
Good. But yeah, it's one thing I think is not so much a matter of that individual person, but just unfortunately a unfortunate aspect of our culture. Just the way people look at the aged or the old, quote unquote, and what supposedly older people can do with, we don't have enough good older role models, movement, strength, role models in the culture. We need more of them. They need to be given more press time, and there's too much of this stuff about, once you get past 30, you're the battle of the bulge and all this stuff, and it's not true. It's just because of mismatches between our nature and biology and our culture on the other hand. If we get things in sync, you're going to age. That does happen. Your mitochondria break down a little bit, but you're going to be able to do a hell of a lot more than people think nowadays that you can do when you're 50 or 60.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're living proof.
Thank you. Melanie just called me old. Right here on the podcast. It was recorded. I have been called old. The gauntlet has been thrown down.
Yeah,
but I went to some bird watching thing at some park, and
that's what older people do.
Okay, there's that too.
Walked right into that one.
Shut. That's not the story, but yeah. But indoors, there's a sign that's talking about tour, like a tour coming up for going somewhere to watch the birds, and it says older people over 50 can go free.
I rest my case.
Whatever. I'm going to put that case on top of your head.
All the way up here. Oh, that's great. I was going to mention, John, you really are a life coach. I mean, I know that maybe people throw that term around quite a bit, but if you think about it, there's so many parts of someone's life that you're trying very hard to help them get balanced and in the right direction, and as people are in denial, which I go through that too myself, it's very interesting when someone else tells you, look, here's what you need to do. Because you probably have that voice inside anyway. I mean, people do. But having someone who's done it, they're successful at it, you've got a business that's been around for quite a long time, and a lot of people come out of it the better for it, that's got to ring with them. That's got to make some impact. And so I'd say you're pulling people in a direction that they're probably uncomfortable with, but they know they need to do it, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. I always giggle at the word life coach. So there's the name of the label. It's always, but I understand it greatly, and I feel like we ultimately want to be told what to do in many levels, And I treat a lot of the new students that way. Like, they need direction in those times. It's like, you need to hear that, wow, you need to be doing this. This is not good. Like, if you can't squat down and get up on your own power, we're going to put you into a home. And that brings tears to people's eyes. Like, I'm like, if you can't get up off the toilet without rocking and swinging and pulling on something, or, it's, I got no other option. But if I got to put you into a home. And that's, I don't know how many times I've said that to people and looked in their eyes, and it's just like, almost tears in both of us. Like, this has to change. Yeah. But there's so many other aspects of it. I mean, just dealing with people's own stress from their own lives as they come into the gym, and how that just throws havoc into what we're trying to do. People that are coming in and trying to conceive, and be due to health issues. I laughably know too much about my students in so many different aspects of their life, and probably more so than some of their own doctors or significant others in some cases do.
Well, you can unfortunately probably help more than a lot of the modern doctors.
Yeah.
I've been working on it. I've upped my doctor quota at the gym. I think we're up to like 17 doctors in the gym now.
Huh. Wow.
I used to be full of lawyers. I still get a lot of lawyers, but I've upped my doctor quota, and I've been really happy with that.
Yeah, that's one thing. Not to knock doctors. It's just because a lot of them are trained to deal with certain problems. It's not in the curriculum or in our culture to have doctors know more about what makes health. What is health? What is optimum function? They're great as hell for you get in a car accident, or like the Boston Marathon bombing happened. The doctors were right on top of that. They did some great work, for like if someone's not eating right and whatever, and then they have a heart attack, modern medicine can take care of you great there. But for backing up, so sometimes, there's car accidents and some stuff. What can you do? But for a lot of chronic conditions, that's not their specialty. They're not trained for it. So, it's something more like what other people do to make someone healthy that is much more important.
Yeah. I like the analogy that actually Greg Glassman gave about that. And it's if you're when you're out there, if you need a doctor or if you need a lifeguard.
Yeah.
In that moment, and if you're drowning, you don't want a doctor. You need a lifeguard. And so I always like that kind of in between there, kind of connective point of where the CrossFit trainer, or just the trainer or life, whichever you want to look at it, sits, is that middle ground before hopefully you get to a catastrophic point, but keep you away from it ultimately in the long run.
And then coming into a place like CrossFit is good too, I think, to see kind of, because like in the general culture, like when I'm out and all these people wearing shoes say I'm crazy because I'm barefoot. But then when you get into this community of CrossFit people who are like, I'm sure a bunch of them, you get together, the CrossFit games, and pretty much every single one is like healthy and strong, not so much overweight. There's a lot of Americans, like just kind of like I've heard people can tell who's an American in general at an airport by seeing like who's thin and healthy and who's overweight. Look, they're overweight, must be an American. But you got that community of people who are fit and can prove and demonstrate that the ideas work and the techniques work. So that's one thing I think that helps a lot. But then that's what we should want in friends, is someone who like criticizes us, like you were talking about earlier. Like, some people want you to criticize them because that shows you care. If you just say, do whatever you want, I don't care, well, that's not really showing much valuing of another person or really caring. But when you point something out like that, even if at first they get pissed off and whatever at you, when they realize it's right, they will appreciate it.
Yeah, it in that position can be lonely. I've been there.
Yeah, true.
But it's one that I have a very similar belief of and thought process on. I tell people how I feel and what they need to hear, or what I feel they need to hear, and once they get past their emotional response to it, I hope that they hear it.
Yeah, true. Got to realize it's only for the best.
Do you do much with younger kids? Like, some kids sit a lot, like you're talking about the video game sort of couch potato type. Do you see a lot of those people come in, the students? And
one of our biggest group that comes to our CrossFit youth program and kids program is actually homeschooled kids. And not saying that that's the larger sit on the couch population, because I know you have homeschooled kids, but it's looking for a more consistent physical education aspect of it.
Yeah.
And then even from the school side or the regular, education world, most schools are phasing out education or PE or recess, or cutting the time down even more. So, the 3 kids that we just had join our speed and agility kind of camp this summer, we asked about what their PE courses were in school, and they're all in middle school, and they said, we don't have PE.
That's sad.
There is no PE course at this charter private school that they're going to, and their parents were like, you're going to this.
Good.
And very, very bright kids, but no physical education at all, no play, and if they're not there, they're on their computers, they're on their video games or phones. So we do get quite a bit of that, and we do get the big kid every now and then, and the one that is afraid to play organized sports because he's the big kid or she's the big girl, or so it's finding a place where none of that matters, and this is play, and it's not sport, it's exercise, it's life, and try to give it a different a taste, so to speak.
Well, and so good to start that at that age rather than 20 or 30 years later when it's just become who they are. They identify themselves that way, so they don't need to.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Yeah, and the other big side that we do with the kids is try to create a relationship that gym, fitness, whatever you want to look at it as, exercise is necessary, but a fun necessary, and that it's not like we grew up and when we were taking PE where fitness was punishment because you screwed up, you ran a lap.
Yeah.
You screwed up, you did 1 million push-ups, and it's a whole different mental shift that it's, no, we're going to go run around and climb on stuff and play and do somersaults and walk on our hands, and great. Yeah, that's fun. Let's do that.
Yeah, that's good. Then people need to realize, that there's the need for exercise is not, or exercising is not optional. There's actually a need for it. It's a human need. And so when people, when they think they want to make students smarter and bring their grades up, and then they take away PE, they're actually doing a disservice to students, because that's not how people function. We're not linear physical things. We're not like robots or rocks or something. We're very complicated, dynamic biological organisms where there's a lot of non-linear functions going on, a lot of feedback stuff. So even though you might think, well, if we study more, we'll be smarter, well, no. We need that exercise. It's very important if we're going to be optimal, have optimal cognitive and physical function. It's not an option.
Absolutely.
And then the stuff you're doing, like at CrossFit, is better because you got, better than just, go to the gym is good. It's better than nothing. Typical gym. But if you go to a CrossFit, or if the gym would incorporate more kind of CrossFit-like stuff, CrossFit, nutritious movement, primal play, parkour, movement, then people are going to be doing a lot more with their nervous system and not just their muscles. Yeah. That's one thing people got to realize is all the importance it is to our neurology and cognition and attitude and well-being. Yeah. It's not just some brute muscle thing.
Yeah, you look at all the occupational therapy and stuff like that they do, and how you teach children how to decision make function. It's just developmental problem things, but things that aren't going to be taught sitting at a desk.
Yeah.
And these are life skills that they desperately need to function, so absolutely movement is paramount in children. Especially the more dynamic, the better.
Yeah.
The more climbing, the more vestibular, the more up and down, the more upside down, the more changes, the better. Absolutely.
And then when you get down to fundamentals, some scientists, leading researchers think there's good evidence for saying that mind is for movement. We don't have a consciousness, so we can sit in a chair like a sponge and like cogitate like Plato and divorce everything from the world and just like make up little air castles in our head. Consciousness and mind are for moving. There's even the thing you probably heard, John, where there's like some little like jellyfish like thing, I forget what it is, it goes around in the ocean and then it comes to a rock and it attaches itself and then it has a brain up until that time and then it processes and ingests kind of its brain like a hydra, I think it is, because it doesn't need it anymore because now it's not moving.
That's great.
It's like, unfortunately, what a lot of people are doing, they're just sitting on a couch and they're just ingesting and losing their brain and nervous system. They're losing their function to be just, have the joy it is to be a human being.
Yeah.
But,
well, just a specific question about the working out that you guys are both mentioning. Would you say, John, that it's a good idea or even more beneficial to find times throughout the day to move and exercise and stuff? Or is the benefit, as long as you get a good chunk of time somewhere in the day? I mean, do you notice any difference in different approaches like that?
I've found that as I've aged, much better than Michael, but I've found that let's go for it. That I used to do so much of the movement just with the military and everything, getting up early, working out throughout the day, long extended periods of time, more endurance things. My body now functions better with one general, I don't want to say a long session, but anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
And it's kind of one off, but that also doesn't mean that I don't like ride my bike to work on top of that.
And pick up the kids, throw them around, carry them on your back.
Well, yeah, exactly. So finding, to say there's a better way to do it would be to find regular and consistent time to move and not be stuck behind a desk forever. So if you're in the workplace, you've got to put a timer on your phone or your watch to zap you and get up and do something. It's not necessarily you're trying to do a full workout or go run a mile, but to move and change what's going on. That way you can wake up so many of those neuromuscular things and all the stuff that we were talking about that a one session that you're going to do at the end of the day, after you've already just killed your brain, it may not be as beneficial.
Yeah, I know. One time I did a hard workout or two. I took some people out in the woods. We worked out real hard. And then came back home, and I made the big mistake of making some stew. I was so fried. It's like, oh, this spice sounds good in it. This spice sounds good. This spice sounds good. It was nasty. I didn't even have the mental capacity to think how it all tastes together. Just fried.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed with the kids, homeschooling, there's times where I'm like, look, go do something, get some movement, because you're not focusing. You're sitting here like just chilling and not focused at all. So I tell the kids, we have a stationary bike downstairs. We've got a treadmill. There's outdoors if it's not winter and 25 below. So, and when they do that, totally fresh, ready to tackle, better attitude. So, as a parent and, homeschooler, but it's just amazing what a bit of movement can do for the brain. I've seen it. Yeah. And for me too, same thing. And like you said, it gets the neurons going and firing and whatever. So honestly, that's good advice. I think that's
good. I see it in my 2 and 4-year-olds, and I mean, we don't even have any true study sessions or anything like that. It's not trying to teach them multiplication, but there are some learning occasions that we're doing where we're going to play with some different things or go learn some new stuff, and I'll look at them as after breakfast or after we move or get ready, and I'm like, we need to go outside and just throw things at each other for a few minutes, run around in circles, chase the dogs, and then suddenly it's okay. We've got 20 minutes here that I can get some focus out of you, and we can work on something. And I love that aspect that you're doing. You've got to trying to keep forcing them into study harder, focus, sit down, stop moving. You're just going to make yourself angry.
When I was a kid, it was here, eat something. You just need sugar.
Oh, wow.
That's what I heard.
Sad,
and what do? You're a kid. Okay, I must need this or whatever it is.
If Mom wants to give me a lollipop, I'll take it.
She didn't do it a lot, but I just remember maybe you need some food. That was the question. Usually if you didn't feel well, you needed some food. So, exactly.
I got a couple stories like that, like not in regard to like being given sugar, but but I know years ago I was tutoring someone in geometry. We were going for about 2 hours, and I don't know, we were like maybe hour in, and he's doing a proof, and so he's doing really good, paying attention, getting along, and there comes a point where he's just can't do this proof, and I know he knows how to do it, but partly because of our culture, they don't know that they need to get up and move. They're taught, no, sit there, try, go for it. Like, blast your head against the wall. You're not bashing your brains out yet because you're not hitting your head hard enough. Hit. No. So I got this tennis ball. I go, okay, wait, let's toss this back and forth. So we tossed it back and forth for a little while, and I said, okay, now try it again. Bam, he got it like that.
Wow.
No problem. Instantaneously, he just busted through the proof.
That is great. Wow. Awesome.
And that's like, one simple thing that a lot of teachers could do in class is like toss a tennis ball back and forth.
Yeah, you could organize it in a way so it's fun, and then the kids all, they get kind of rejuvenated. I mean, that would be a great way to do it. Yeah.
And I've seen like some things where some teachers try to do movement in school, and it's just crazy. It's just too bizarre. It's like stuff that would seem to distract you from learning. It doesn't seem to be integrated properly with learning. Okay, let's focus on this. Now let's do a movement. Let's focus on this. Depending on the age of the kid, work for 5 or 15 or 30 minutes. Now let's move for 30 seconds or 3 minutes or whatever. Now go back to it. But it was like just this crazy stuff that would seem to get you distracted and get your brain fried a little bit or something.
Yeah.
But
and I think sleeping. Oh, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, one thing, like, it's interesting. I don't know if you know totally, John, in regard to the vestibular system stuff, but one lady, forget her name, she does Aikido. I think her podcast, I think it's called Mind and Body and Motion, and she said some good, a lot of good podcasts, but some in particular, one, like, she was talking about the vestibular system, and someone, maybe it was like the Coast or someone, like the person she was interviewing did like child, what is it called, like therapy for children. The name of it's weird because even though they're working with children, it's named after something you'd think is for adults, like child workplace therapy or something. I don't remember what, but not that, but something like it. But
not occupational therapy.
Oh yeah, that's it. Thank you. Occupational. They don't have an occupation, but it's called occupational therapy. But thanks. But what this lady does to help kids learn how to focus and concentrate when they have ADHD or something, they put them on a spin table. You get down, they spin you, and then that helps them learn to concentrate. And I think that's one reason, like I think there's decent or good evidence. I don't know if the case is fully made yet, but there's good evidence and a good case that one reason kids have ADHD and can't concentrate is because they're not spinning anymore. They don't swing as much. They don't spin around. It's like, oh, you might fall and hurt yourself and all this stuff. Let them spin. Let them swing. Or those dangerous things we used to be on where, those big round things, some people get on them And then the stronger people push, you get it going real fast, and then jump on, and it spins around.
Merry-go-round, yeah.
Yeah. And then, because they didn't want anybody to get caught under it and stuff like that. But stuff like that people need to do because, not get caught under it. They don't need to do that. But they need to get on stuff and spin because it helps them learn to concentrate. It helps their brain and neurological system develop properly.
Or you can just have, an older sibling that torments you and
yeah, spins you around. Yeah.
Yeah.
That works. That's why older siblings were invented. But,
one question too, John, is how would you say sleep plays a role in sort of end of the day after all of this that you've had everyone do? Do you recommend some amount or a time that you should sleep between or during? Or
I actually, a perfect prescription for sleep, if you have young children, is going to be you're going to do the best you can. So you get to sleep when you can. If you are
matters.
If you end up napping to some degree, fine. Not as ideal, but you got to get it where you can get it. At minimum 6 hours a night, at minimum. And that's continuous and good sleep. Not in front of a TV with the lights on, or you pass out on the couch with your computer on your chest, or any of those things. But 6 hours in a dark, cool place where your sensory's off. If you need it, even if you have a noise machine, that whatever, but something that just can allow your body and mind to recover like it should. I as from the gym perspective, I actually just turned a couple of people away from the gym because I just flat out said that I'm not going to help you. Like I'm not going to be able to do this based off what your schedule and your life is. You have all this stress going on, and then you want to come and do more stress with me and expect that to equal positive results. It's going to equal results, just not the results that you want. I was just like, you need to figure out sleep in your schedule with your life, family, work, and then see if we can integrate this in, because it's just going to hurt you. And sleep is just as important or not important as food. I tell people, if I can just fix your food and sleep, I'll probably have a bigger effect on you than any amount of exercise we do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a big proponent of it, even though I personally don't get a lot of it right now. It's a big aspect, and kids, it's even bigger.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As some people say, I've heard, they say you can't outrun a bad diet. And I think another way to put that with the sleep is you can't outrun sleep deprivation.
Yeah. It's going to come.
Yeah.
And just their cognitive function with lack of sleep, being that I've been there, I've been the delirious state in the military. Yeah. I've done all sorts of horrible stuff after horrific physical events and major stress physically and then mentally. And then you're expected to make essentially life and death choices of pointing, a weapon at somebody. Then you want to get behind the wheel of your car with your kids and drive them to school, and it's all relative, but at the same time, it's
essential.
You're not functioning at an ideal or optimal state, and I love that optimal idea that you were mentioning, Michael, or stasis, as I like to call it, what your body was meant and designed to do, just normal.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to feel tired every day.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So. It's another unfortunate aspect of the American culture. It's got some great aspects, great things, a lot of things I love, but some of that stuff is unfortunate. But yeah, like you probably know this, John. Like, when Chernobyl happened?
Mm-hmm.
I think Chernobyl happened between midnight and 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Exxon Valdez, probably the same thing.
Yeah.
And the Army did a study. They got a bunch of people, hit them, shoot artillery, found out what their accuracy was, and then assigned them to 3 or 4 groups. I think they were getting maybe 8 hours of sleep, 6 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep, so maybe it was 3. forgot some of the details. Don't know if they went for a week or 2 weeks. And then after having that amount of sleep for a week or two, they had the people shoot the artillery again. And maybe it was 7 hours for one group. The people doing 7 were maybe, I don't know, 95% of what they had before. I don't remember the exact thing for 6 hours. Maybe they were down to like 70% or so. And the ones on 4 hours were 30 or 50%. And that means, people remember what that means is that they're missing. They're hitting innocent targets like 50 to 70% of the time. Unless there's nothing there. But, if it's in a tight situation where accuracy matters, it's friendly fire. And then also, it's not just that, but they were drones. Couldn't think for themselves, had to be told what to do. That's kind of what I've heard about the Exxon Valdez, where I think the captain went down to sleep and like the co-captain or someone was in charge, and he was a little sleep deprived, and probably there too. And then I think also Chernobyl, and people are getting instructions, but they're so sleep deprived, stupid, they can't understand what's being said or carry out the instructions. They're just like, what? Huh? What do we do?
It kind of sounds like the regular, I'm not in the Army myself, but that sounds like the regular every day.
Yeah.
Even though I was there, but I know, whatever. But yeah, no, that it's spot on. You're just a mess, and that's not something you can just train and get better at. It's going to still be crappy the next time.
Yeah. So
it's not something, and that's the kind of do more mentality. If I just keep grinding like this, I'll get better. You won't.
They'll get better at something. Maybe not what they want to get better at.
But
they'll get better at something.
That's not an adaptation that happens. So.
Yeah, truth. And thankfully, we live in a time where there's a lot of scientific research backing it up. It's not widespread enough. It's not common among everybody in our culture, but the science is there.
Well, and I've seen on the piano bench, because I teach piano, and that's a skill that requires a lot of finesse and acuity, mental acuity. You really have to be in understanding what you see on the page and then turning that into something down here on the keyboard. And I've noticed as students, I start them, as young as 6, and some of them have stuck with me all the way through high school. And every year they get tireder and tireder. They're more and more like yawning and not quite getting what, they should, and telling me about how busy they are. Of course, they're not getting enough sleep. So, it starts so young, junior high, high school, where students are just trying to make everything work, or maybe they don't go to bed at night. Maybe their parents don't know. I don't know. But we pretty much get our sleep here, and I'm glad about that. But I think that it's just apparent when even kids who are always energetic, it seems, even when they're short on sleep, they just can't perform. So.
I would also be interested to see that with the amount of stimulus those kids get outside of coming to play piano. I mean, 'cause that's probably just looking, at the back room where I see your piano behind you. It's very cozy, quaint, quiet. There's not a lot of, you don't have the blue light of the TV and television screens. And that right there is just suddenly their brains finally, has one thing going through their mind, and they just pass out.
Yeah.
It is hard for some kids to turn it off, because they come in and they're just like, and I'm like, you're going to have to calm down. I have to figure out ways to get them to get focused. So it's, the brain is on overdrive sometimes.
But yeah, it's one thing I like about CrossFit. I think it's good cognitively. There's good epistemological principles coming into play here that don't come up in some other things. Like I say, CrossFit, when people do parkour right, MoveNat, nutritious movement, some primal play, you got to look at a person as a whole, holistically. The sleep, the diet, the exercise, they all got to be looked at together. You can't just look at one in isolation. just looking at one thing in isolation is really bad thinking. It's illogical. So I like the logic that informs some of this. All the domains that come up in CrossFit, the fact that, okay, you care more than just about muscle and working out. We got to look at the neurology of the person's system, their psychology, sleep, diet. Are they getting enough rest? They're getting the social aspect because we're social animals, We're like fish in fusion, so we like to do a lot of things alone. We can, and we've got to do like a lot of social stuff too. So there's that aspect of it. But, and then, of course, since it fits our nature when it's done right, then great results. And of course, it depends on the person. There's some people maybe because of their thinking methods, it's not CrossFit's fault, but someone, no matter what, take your favorite thing. Physics, MoveNet, primal play, nutritious movement, CrossFit, whatever. If someone can't think very well, they're not going to be able to apply the ideas properly. And that's like because of their bad methodology, not because of the system itself. And we need to differentiate that. But so go to John if you're in Houston. P3 CrossFit.
There's help out there.
Yeah. So, but 3:24, about time. Got to wrap up. We'll have to continue. Got more questions and stuff. Have another conversation in the future if we could. That'd be nice. But any last words y'all want to say to people?
Move.
True.
Move. After you listen to this, go for a run.
Or, unless you're tired, go for a walk.
Or go for a walk.
Yeah.
Move.
Start digging into it. Eat, sleep, move. But yeah.
You'll feel a lot better. Everyone will feel better. Just so much energy. And
agree. I know it helps me. And then think about how you think about things too. Move, but think about what am I doing? Why? How do I know? Am I considering the whole person? Because as we say, we're complex biological systems, nonlinear, dynamic, and we got to consider that that's our nature and act accordingly. So cool. All right. Thank you very much, John.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Okay. Good discussion.
Great.
So thanks for listening, guys, and we will talk to y'all again soon. Bye. To be done differently or pros and cons?
No, only the second podcast I've ever done.
Oh.
So I've talked to a few other ones, and most of the talks I do are usually more panel based, where I've just been up there and just pitching in when they wanted a different opinion or a different thought process. So it's fun to be